Now, this part is not yikes. Joining us now is Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary for President Biden. You know her well. She was, during the Obama administration, she was a spokesperson for the State Department and the White House Deputy Communications Director. She is immensely talented, and now she is joining the MSNBC family as an MSNBC political analyst and host of an upcoming show on Peacock. Jen, welcome to 30 Rock.
Thank you.
We are so thrilled to have you.
And it is so great to be here with you tonight. I'm so excited to be here.
It's finally happened. We made it.
We're here together.
We are all super thrilled and delighted.
Thank you.
I'm so honored to have you on set with me in one of your first appearances.
I am honored and thrilled to be here and so excited with you.
Badge. I really want to know what you think of what the Democrats are doing here, because I've talked to a lot of Democrats about this strategy of picking the craziest, wildest, most seemingly beatable Republican in a key race. And you get mixed feelings about it, right?
Yeah.
On one hand, it's like, well, this is the strategic way of going about things. And then on the other hand, you have some people who issue cautionary words, which is, what if these guys actually win?
Yeah.
Where do you sit on a strategy like the one employed in New Hampshire?
Well, I think what you're hearing, and I talk to a lot of Democrats too, of course, is it's really risky. I mean, what they're doing is risky, not just in New Hampshire, but other states in the country. Now, New Hampshire, the primary is so late that in that state, they will tell you, as I'm sure they have, that they also need to start to shape Chuck Rocha if he is the nominee, because that's how they'll run against him. He's a member of the establishment, and that's what they're doing here. But they're also doing this in other states across the country. Now, what's also true is that if they can elect, they can nominate the extremist members, or the extremist Republicans, and potentially win those seats. They prevent Kevin McCarthy from being the Speaker of the House. They prevent Mitch McConnell from being the leader in the Senate. And to them, that's the way you protect gun safety. You protect a woman's right to choose. And that's all on the ballot, too. So what you're seeing here is everybody is playing a game of three-dimensional, five-dimensional chess. The Republicans do it, too. The Democrats are doing it. But you don't really know how it's going to turn out. And that's what's scary.
Well, I think it's scary, you know, and you see it not just in New Hampshire, you see it in Pennsylvania, where Doug Mastriano, similar to General Bolduc in his sort of inflammatory rhetoric, is running just a couple points behind Josh Shapiro. And it brings to mind the sort of state of affairs when it comes to the GOP, that these kinds of people, these kind of fringe candidates, hold a very real shot of not only becoming the sort of standard bearers for their party, but elected officials in Congress. I suppose this is a strategy, high risk, high reward.
Yes, no question. I
got to ask you how you think of these midterms right now, sitting as, you know, where we are, less than 60 days out. We see this sort of back and forth among Republicans on abortion. Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, they're having a hard time with this. And we talk a lot about abortion being an animating factor here. I wonder if it's actually changed the way we think of midterms as classically a referendum on the sitting president or a check on his power. Nate Cohn in the New York Times brings up this really interesting point, which is usually the midterms are a check on power, and yet the biggest piece of sort of powerful policy change has come as a result of the Supreme Court decision on Dobbs. And in many ways, these midterms may end up being a referendum on Republican power more so than Democratic power. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely. And that is remarkable if you think about it. I mean, if you look back on the NBC poll from back in January, Democrats were not that into the midterms, you know? They just weren't that into it. They were not thinking they were going to participate as many. It's gone up 20% by 20 percentage points almost, the excitement and enthusiasm for participating. That is largely related to Dobbs, largely related to women across the country, young women across the country, and even men being scared of a woman's right to choose being taken away from them. The other truth is that when you're the party in power, and I have sat in White Houses where you're the party in power, it's almost always a referendum, to your point, because people are looking at whether they're satisfied with how things are going in the country. That's hard to run as a referendum against you, right?
Right.
It's much better when it's a choice. But to your point, it's largely flipped now, where people are saying the anger is among the members of the Democratic Party, which is the party in power, which is so rare for that to be the case. People are enthused, they're engaged, they want to get out and vote, they want to participate in the process. And many Democrats, women, independents who were not that excited, were going to be in their jammies on election night as of a few months ago, they don't want their rights to be taken away.
Right.
And that has been a huge factor that's changed the dynamics.
It's almost like a recreation of the weather patterns when Trump was president, right? Vast numbers of Americans feel like basic freedoms are being infringed upon. And oh, by the way, Donald Trump is still in some ways, he's not the president of the United States. In his mind, he may be. But in terms of his dominance over the news cycle, the multiple swirling investigations have made him a figurehead in the Republican Party and in national politics.
Well, nothing's more of a driving and an excitement factor like Donald Trump for Democrats, right? I mean, they love to be opposed to him because they are. Independents, many don't want to see another reign of Trump. And the more he engages in the race, the more he puts himself out there, the more it's a reminder of what's at stake to people. And having Trump on the ballot is a hugely energizing factor in a lot of these races. I'll also say, since you asked me broadly about the midterms, that while I think a lot of Democrats are feeling better, as they should, there's a long way to go here. And if the election were tomorrow, I think the House would be a big uphill battle. That would be a bit of a leap. The Senate, more of a toss-up. But there's different dynamics in each of these races that we should be paying very close attention to, too.
Well, and no doubt the Biden White House is looking at all of the cross currents, right? There's a reason that Joe Biden was out there celebrating the 4-week birthday of the Inflation Reduction Act in his aviator sunglasses, because they know they have to offer something else to the American people. They can't rest on their haunches and let Trump and Dobbs do the work for them. But there's also storm clouds on the horizon for them, right? Like, we have inflation is not budging. And then there's talk of a major rail strike that could happen as soon as this Friday. Both of those things are so huge and so deeply felt by the American consumer. Yeah. Where do you think the Biden administration is at this moment in time as they look out at the landscape before them?
Yes. Well, I talked to a number of my former colleagues today, and you're always juggling a lot of balls in White Houses, right, to put it mildly. So there's been a team that's been working on preventing and addressing this potential rail crisis for some time. And you can see what they've been doing over the past couple of days is engaging with union leaders, engaging with business leaders. Secretary Walsh is going to be out there trying to get everybody to come to an agreement because they know it would have a huge economic impact. They don't want to see that. They don't need that headache right now, to state the complete obvious. What I would also say, though, from talking to a number of my former colleagues today, is they feel pretty good about a couple factors in the economy, gas prices specifically. And while there's a lot of economic data out there, gas prices is something people are experiencing on a daily basis. And if you look at the data and how it kind of overlaps, as gas prices go down, the president's approval rating goes up, and they're watching that closely as well. So, yes, they have to prevent crises. That's what you do in a White House. You've got probably teams of people in rooms working on this, but they feel good about, the fact that the president could rally a bunch of people today. I think they're hoping they can prevent a crisis with the rail.
Yeah, it's tricky, though, right? Because this is a union issue, too, and labor matters to Democrats. It is a very careful needle they have to thread, and the downside is extraordinary. Although it's only Tuesday, who knows what happens?
Lots can happen this week. So many things.
You know it well.
Yes.
One day is a year. Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary for President Biden, I love saying this, current MSNBC political analyst and host of an upcoming show to be named on Peacock. Thank you, my friend. Welcome to the building. Come back anytime. I love to see you.